Picture this. You wake up one morning, you are feeling okay, maybe even good. You walk into a room, maybe it is work, maybe it is home, maybe it is a family WhatsApp group, and then it happens. Something went wrong. And before anyone even takes a breath, all the fingers, every single one of them, point straight at you. Not because you did it, not because they even checked, just because you were there, just because it is easier. Just because somewhere along the line, you became the person that everyone decided is always the problem. And the worst part is not the blame. The worst part is what happens inside you in that moment. Your mouth goes dry, your hands feel strange. Your brain starts running in circles, trying to figure out how to defend yourself, how to explain, how to make them see. And while all of that is happening inside your chest, they are already talking, already convinced, already done with the conversation before you even opened your mouth. Maybe this happens with one person in your life. Maybe it is someone at work. Maybe it is someone in your family. Maybe it is a partner, a friend, a parent, a boss. Someone who has this very specific talent for making everything your fault. When they are late, somehow you distracted them. When the plan fails, somehow you did not do your part. When they feel bad, somehow you made them feel that way. And you have spent so much time trying to fix things, trying to be better, trying to be more careful, more quiet, more agreeable, that you do not even recognize how exhausted you are anymore. Today, that stops. By the time this video is done, you are going to know exactly what is happening when someone blames you for everything, and, more importantly, you are going to know exactly what to do about it. Not just how to defend yourself in the moment, how to change the whole dynamic, how to stop being the person everyone points at and start being someone that nobody dares to play that game with. Stay with me, because the first thing I am going to tell you is going to feel a little strange, but it is the truth that changes everything. When someone blames you for everything, your brain tells you that the problem is you. It says, maybe I did do something wrong. Maybe I am too sensitive. Maybe I am overreacting. And so you stay quiet. You apologize. You try harder. And the cycle keeps going. But here is what is actually happening. Think of it like a leaking bucket. Someone has a bucket with holes in it. Every time something spills, instead of looking at the holes in their own bucket, they look for someone to hold responsible. And if you have been standing nearby long enough, you have become the person they always hand the bucket to and say, "This is your fault, it is empty." People who blame others for everything are not doing it because they are evil. Most of the time, they are doing it because they are scared. Scared of being seen as wrong. Scared of feeling like a failure. Scared of sitting with the uncomfortable truth that they made a mistake. And blaming you protects them from all of that. It is a shield they wear so they never have to feel what it feels like to be at fault. Understanding this does not mean you accept the blame. It means you stop taking it personally enough to lose yourself in it. Because the moment you realize this is about their fear, not your failure, you stop being their target and start being free. Here is what most people do wrong. Most people, when they are blamed for everything, do one of two things. They either defend themselves so hard they look guilty, or they go completely quiet and absorb the blame just to keep the peace. Both of those things make the problem worse. When you defend yourself by explaining everything, trying to prove your innocence, laying out all the facts, it sends a signal to the other person that you are rattled. And rattled people are easy to control. You are proving to them that their blame works on you. So they do it again. When you go quiet and absorb the blame, just to stop the argument, you teach them something even more dangerous. You teach them that if they push hard enough, you will take responsibility for things that are not yours. You become the path of least resistance. And they will walk that path every single time. So what do you do instead? I am going to give you 5 things. 5 clear, simple moves that completely change how this plays out. 1. The pause and the look. The very first thing you do when someone blames you for something is nothing. Just calm, intentional stillness. When someone throws blame at you, they are expecting you to jump. They want you flustered. They want you explaining, defending, tripping over your words. That is the reaction they have designed the whole thing around. When you pause instead, when you just look at them with a calm and unbothered expression and let a few seconds pass in silence, you take that whole plan and you set it on the floor gently. Think of it like this. You know how when a small child throws a toy across the room to get attention, and the parent just looks at them calmly without making a big deal out of it? What does the child do? They lose momentum. Their tantrum has nowhere to go. Your calm pause does the same thing. It is not weakness. It is power. It is you saying, with your whole body, without a single word, "I am not afraid of what you just said." Hold the pause. Look at them. Breathe. Then, and only then, speak. 2. Name what is happening. Most people spend all their energy trying to prove they did not do whatever they are being blamed for. That is the wrong battle. You do not need to prove your innocence. You need to name the pattern. When someone blames you for something, calmly look at them and say something like this. I have noticed that when things go wrong, I am usually the first person you come to with this. Or you say, I want to have a real conversation about what happened, but first I want to name that this is starting to feel one-sided. Simple words, clear words, words a child could understand. When you name the pattern out loud, you do something very powerful. You move the conversation from the specific accusation to the bigger picture. Instead of being on trial for one thing, you are now both looking at something together. The behavior, the habit, the way blame always seems to land in the same direction. Most people who blame others for everything have never had anyone calmly name what they do, because everyone around them has either been too angry to speak clearly or too afraid to speak at all. When you do it with a calm voice and clear words, you become something they have never quite encountered before, and that changes the energy in the room completely. 3. Ask one question. Here is a move so simple it sounds like it could not work, but it does. Every time, when someone blames you, after your pause, look at them and ask this. What would you have liked me to do differently? That is it. Just that one question. Here is why it works. That question does 3 things at the same time. It shows that you are not afraid of the conversation. It forces them to move from accusation to something specific, something real, something you can actually work with. And it reveals very quickly whether they have a real concern or whether they were just looking for a place to put their frustration. A person with a real concern will answer that question. They will say something like, I wish you had told me earlier, or I needed more support with the deadline. Those are real things. Those are things you can talk about like adults. But a person who just needed someone to blame, they will fumble. They will say something vague. They will move the goalposts. And that fumbling tells the whole room, including you, exactly what was going on. You did not fight. You did not yell. You asked one calm question and let the truth fall out on its own. 4. Decide what is yours and what is not. This one is the most important thing I am going to say today. So I need you to stay with me. Not all blame is unfair. Sometimes, somewhere in the accusation, there is a sliver of truth. Maybe you did forget something. Maybe you did drop the ball somewhere. And if that is true, the strongest thing you can do is own it, directly and without excuses. You say, you are right. I dropped that part. I own that. But only the part that is actually yours. Here is the mistake people make. When they feel guilty even a little bit, they take on everything. They apologize for the whole thing, even when only 5% of it was actually their fault. And the person blaming them watches that happen and files it away. Now they know that if they push hard enough, you will take the whole load. So you learn to separate. Think of it like sorting your laundry. Your clothes go in your pile. Their clothes go in their pile. You are not responsible for washing everything just because you are standing next to the machine. When you only own what is genuinely yours, and you say it clearly, and then you stop, you do something that very few people know how to do. You close the door on the rest. And once you have done that with your voice and your calm, most people cannot push past it, because you have been honest. There is no crack left for them to squeeze more blame through. 5. Set the line. Okay, so you have paused. You have named the pattern. You have asked your question. You have owned what was yours, and only what was yours. Now there is one last move, and it is the one that actually makes the change permanent. You set the line. Not in an angry way, not in a dramatic way. Calmly and clearly, after the moment has settled, you say something like this. I am always willing to talk about things I actually did wrong, but I am not going to keep accepting blame for things that are not mine. I need us to agree on that, or this conversation is going to keep feeling unfair to me. Short, clear, calm, like a person who already knows their own value and is not asking for permission to keep it. Here is the thing about people who always have someone to blame. They are looking for walls they can push through. They push a little, and if you give way, they push more. They keep going until they find the wall that does not move. When you set the line calmly and clearly, you become that wall. Not aggressive, not cold, just steady, just immovable. And the beautiful thing is that most people, even the ones who have been blaming you for years, will adjust when they finally meet that wall. Not all of them. Some people are too deep in their pattern to change. But most people will quietly recalibrate once they realize you are no longer going to be the person who absorbs everything. Now here is the thing nobody talks about. If someone in your life has been blaming you for everything for a long time, there is a deeper question you need to sit with. And I want you to be honest with yourself when you hear it. Why did you keep accepting it? Not as judgment, as genuine curiosity. Because here is what usually happens. Somewhere along the way, something taught you that keeping the peace was more important than protecting yourself. Maybe it was how you grew up. Maybe it was a relationship that trained you to shrink. Maybe it was just that avoiding conflict felt safer than having the hard conversation. And so, you became very good at absorbing blame, at nodding, at apologizing for things, at making yourself smaller so other people could feel bigger. That skill kept you safe for a while, but now it is costing you something more important: your sense of your own value, your ability to walk into a room and feel like you belong there, like you are not one moment away from being blamed for something. The tactics in this video matter, but they only work if you also do the inside work. The work of deciding, really deciding, that you are not the problem, that you are allowed to take up space, that other people's need to blame someone is not evidence that you deserve to be blamed. That decision is yours to make. And once you make it, really make it, the way you carry yourself changes, the way you speak changes. And people feel that change before you even open your mouth. Here is what begins to happen when you start doing this. At first, the person who always blamed you will push harder. This is normal. They are testing to see if your new response is real or just a temporary phase. Stay calm, stay steady. Do not go back to the old pattern just because the new one feels uncomfortable. After a while, one of two things happens. Either they adjust, they start to treat you differently because they have learned you are no longer available to be their target, or they do not adjust. And the clarity you get from that is also valuable, because now you know clearly who this person is, and you can decide with open eyes how much space they get in your life. Either outcome is better than where you were before, because you are no longer confused. You are no longer carrying weight that was never yours to carry. You are no longer walking into rooms already bracing for the finger that is about to point at you. You walked in free instead. Before you close this video, I want to ask you something real. Drop it in the comments right now. What is the hardest part for you when someone blames you for everything? Is it staying calm when it happens? Is it finding the right words without sounding defensive? Is it the quiet later, when you are alone and you start wondering if maybe they were right all along? Tell me, because your answer shapes exactly what I cover next. Subscribe right now and hit the bell so you do not miss it when it goes live. Because the person who just watched this whole video, they are already not who they were at the beginning, and the next one will take it even further.